Hello and welcome to the Newsmax Daily for Thursday, November 21st, 2024, the third of 4 Thursdays in November, which means today is the Great American Smokeout, established by the American Cancer Society to encourage you to quit smoking or make a plan on how and when to quit, which the American Cancer Society says can add as much as a decade to your life and reduce the risks of many diseases as well. And yes, you can be killed in a car accident any given day of the year, so do whatever makes you happy. Today is also Guinness World Records Day, which means there will be some people in some places doing some stupid things. And on the food calendar of made-up holidays, it's National Gingerbread Cookie Day. So maybe instead of smoking, eat a cookie. Big story today. The Biden administration informing Congress that it plans to cancel $4.65 billion in debt owed to us, the people, by Ukraine. According to Bloomberg News, the cancellation covers half of the $9 billion loan approved to Ukraine through that $60 billion supplemental package that was approved by Congress back in the spring. And if you remember back then, Republicans partially agreed to the vote in Congress based on the money to Ukraine being a loan, not a gift. If it was a gift, a lot of them weren't going to vote. The package wasn't going to get passed, right? Something that was also pushed heavily by Donald Trump. Why? Why cancel the debt? We're likely never going to get the money back anyway, but why cancel it? Hopefully, we will be hearing a lot more about that today. And 1 week from today is Thanksgiving Day, one of the best days of the year for most families. Unfortunately, those that have suffered a tragic and unexpected loss this year, Thanksgiving Day will never be the same, right? Like Corey Compertore's family, the man killed at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania, or Rachel Morin, the Maryland mother killed by an illegal alien, or the Riley family of Georgia, whose daughter Laken Riley was murdered by an illegal alien criminal from Venezuela who was found guilty on all 10 counts yesterday.
We have breaking news out of Georgia. Jose Ibarra, the illegal Venezuelan immigrant who has been in this country, but again, I want to reiterate, illegally, he has been sentenced to life in prison without parole, actually 2 consecutive life sentences without parole after being found guilty on all 10 counts related to the murder of college nursing student Laken Riley. Welcome to American Agenda. I'm Katrina Zish.
And I'm Bob Brooks. The trial took just 4 days, in the sentencing unfolding just moments ago. Our correspondent Carolyn Ryan has the very latest on the trial. She joins us now. Carolyn, bring us up to speed.
Hey, just heartbreaking day today. Sobs and cries of grief could be heard throughout the courtroom today as Superior Court Judge H. Patrick Haggard handed down the sentence for Jose Ibarra just moments ago. Before he sentenced Ibarra, he heard heartbreaking impact statements from Laken's family and friends.
Count 1, malice murder. I sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. Count 2 will be vacated as a matter of operation of law. Count 3 vacated by operation of law. Count 4 vacated by operation of law.
The grief is still so raw for this family. It was just 9 months ago, or as one of her family friends said today, it was 272 days ago that Laken was brutally murdered while out on a morning jog the morning of February 22nd. Now, Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial last week, so Judge Haggard decided this case himself, and it only took him 15 minutes to reach a verdict. He said 2 things stood out to him from closing arguments. A statement from prosecutor Sheila Ross, who said that the evidence in this case was overwhelming and powerful, and a statement from defense attorney Caitlin Beck, who reminded the judge he was required to set aside his emotions in making a decision. And the judge said that is exactly how he approached it. Ibarra showed little to no emotion as the verdict was read. He showed little to no emotion as Laken's family broke down, describing how he robbed them of a life with their beloved daughter, sister, and friend. And he showed little to no emotion as the judge sentenced him to prison for the rest of his life. And guys, Georgia does have the death penalty, but prosecutors, for some reason, did not seek it in this case.
That's Newsmax correspondent Carolyn Ryan. Two things here, and I am not an attorney, but Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial. A death penalty case in Georgia has to be decided by a jury. There was no jury. And when he waived his right to a jury, that essentially gave the judge, Patrick Haggard, the sole power to do what he did. So kudos to Haggard, guilty on all 10 counts. And if you were mad seeing Ibarra wearing headphones in court like I initially was, he wasn't listening to music. He was listening to a Spanish translator. Now he will live in a U.S. prison on our dime for the rest of his life. As nonsensical as that is, there was a conversation on Capitol Hill yesterday and across the media landscape that frankly is hard to believe we even have to have, stemming from a bill that most people, stressing most people, would never have imagined we needed. A bill drafted by South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace to keep men out of women's bathrooms.
Sarah McBride doesn't get a say in this. This is a biological man trying to force himself into women's spaces, and I'm not going to tolerate it. You have the radical left that are trying to erase women and erase women's rights. I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. If some guy in a skirt came by and said, no, that's my achievement, I'm going to be there and standing in the way and saying, hell no. I'm not going to allow men to erase women or women's rights.
That's South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Sarah McBride is the first transgender woman elected to Congress. Mace's bill would keep transgender women from using Capitol Hill ladies' rooms, as well as the locker room and changing rooms that are all designated for women. More from Newsmax host Carl Higbie.
We invited McBride, this new congressman-elect, on to ask him a couple simple questions. I figured a congressman, someone in the business of debating the merits of issues that they believe in, would want to come on and defend this type of crazy, but no, won't do that. He doesn't want me to ask him this one question. Why doesn't he want to use the men's bathroom? Why is that? Oh, because you are uncomfortable in the men's bathroom? Is that, that's the same reason women don't want you in their bathroom. This is my problem with this whole movement. These people want to play make-believe with about zero concern about how it will make anybody else feel. Why should every other woman feel uncomfortable so your delusions can be appeased? This is what the left needs to understand. This is exactly why you lost the election. They, thems, running all over the place, want everyone around them to conform to their delusions. And if you don't, they just scream to high heaven that you're like some sort of a bigot. He won't come on and have that conversation, but he's happy to run to the podium and try to claim, oh, I'm not making this about transgenderism.
I didn't run on my identity, but my identity was not a secret.
Oh, you didn't run on your identity, huh? Here is a web scroll of the media that is time-stamped up to the date of the election 2 weeks ago. McBride, you rode that media wave all the way to D.C. Don't whiz on my leg and tell me it's raining. Your identity was walking around saying, oh, I'm not making this race about me being trans and my identity. That is making it about your identity. That's all you made it about. He went on to say that in the same press conference, after, of course, again, bringing up the trans issue, of course, that he's not bringing up, folks. Don't be fooled. He's trying to deflect to policy now.
My district is urban, suburban, and rural. It looks like America. And what I was hearing was not the ads that Donald Trump was putting on the air. What I was hearing from folks is the need to build an economy that works for everyone. What I was hearing was that the American dream is increasingly unaffordable and inaccessible. What I was hearing was that we need to guarantee affordable health care, housing, and child care for every person in this state and in this country.
First off, your district is blue. America is not. This is what America looks like, but bright red. Ironically enough, largely because America is tired of you and your little games and your social stunts. But since you want to do policy, I would have been happy to go there if you had taken us up on our interview today. You're not only confused about your gender, but you're wildly confused about your policy and the damage your party has done to your electorate. You talk about the economy. Who's been in charge of your state? Democrats. Joe Biden has been your senator basically since the Bronze Age. Delaware, last Republican was the last governor of Delaware was like 1993. Okay. The last Republican congressman was 2011. The last Republican senator was 2001. You have near Democrat supermajorities in the state house and the state senate, and Democrats have held the White House for the last 12 of 16 years. You talk about the destruction of the American dream, unaffordable health care, housing, child care out of touch. But your party is responsible for that destruction. And now you want to destroy the sanctity of women's bathrooms, too? Hard pass, dude.
A fired-up Carl Higbie on Frontline. House Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday announced his support for the bill.
But we have single-sex facilities for a reason, and women deserve women's-only spaces. And we're not anti-anyone. We're pro-woman.
Look, you want to pretend to be a woman, I don't care. Fine by me. But I'm not pretending with you, and you can't force me. That doesn't make you oppressed. And I'm no doctor, but I would just consider you mentally ill. Maybe get some help or something. I also have serious questions about those who elected you, but that's a topic for another day. Look, you are not a woman, McBride, and Trump is your president.
Carl Higbie is the host of Frontline, 5 o'clock Eastern on Newsmax. And this is New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Frankly, all it does is allow these Republicans to go around and bully any woman who isn't wearing a skirt because they think she might not look woman enough.
All right, whatever that means. And Congresswoman Mace spoke about it last night with Greg Kelly.
Yes, I'm great, and thank you. And women are winning tonight because Speaker Johnson has vowed in his speaker policy over the House to protect women. This is a big deal. It's important, but we can't stop there. This is only the start of a movement that needs to happen nationwide.
So do you know what I mean about you being the only normal person? Like, I want to throw to this D11. You're borderline accosted by this guy from ABC. Maybe that's a little bit too strong. Yes. No, he was a jerk. And well, let's go ahead and play it.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%. And
should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. I am not going to stand for it. And the Speaker said it would be in the House rules package. If it's not, I'll be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Now, Speaker,
end of story. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left, are willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom?
And it goes on like that. And the guy, I think that, what is the word? Mansplaining. He was trying to straighten you out about issues I think you're a bit more familiar with.
Well, and I took his man card, and he's not getting it back. He was such a misogynist, such a sexist. Like, the New York Times called me today. I'm far right because I want to protect women's rights. I mean, this is clown world. This is like everything's upside down. It's weird. It's wild. It's crazy. It's insane. But conservatives, we're now feminists, and we need to be proud of the fact that we're protecting women.
It is clown world. It is upside down. It's like the Twilight Zone.
That is Newsmax's Greg Kelly with South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace. And to clarify, the bill pertains only to the Capitol building and other federal buildings. I think she may have said that in one of the clips, but just to clarify. You know, when Newsmax first reached out to me about hosting the podcast, I was working on a radio morning show in Charlotte, North Carolina, a news show. Nancy Mace, right next door in South Carolina, had been a guest on the show a couple of times. And I can tell you, number one, she's a very nice woman, but I can tell you that she is a force to be reckoned with. And I mean that in the most positive way. As she said, she has made a lot of history in her accomplished life, and she wants to make sure that she represents that history, especially for women. She wants to make sure she represents it well. Yesterday, I told you about the 13-0 vote by L.A. lawmakers that would prohibit Los Angeles from providing any city resources or personnel to be used to help federal enforcement of new immigration laws expected to come with President Trump, essentially doubling down on sanctuary city status. Actress and now former L.A. resident Candace Bure spoke with Sean Kreisman and Emma Reckenberg on Newsmax's National Report.
We're so pleased to have you. Welcome to National Report.
I want to say Merry Christmas and play
Merry
Christmas songs right now.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Right. Yeah. Same to you as well. Love your movies, by the way.
We're big fans.
It gets us in the spirit. But we were talking about this whole issue in L.A. aside from moving away from movies, but safety.
Absolutely. And it's impacted you personally. Is that right? Just wanting to make sure you feel safe where you live?
Yeah, of course. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I love the city, and yet it's changed so much over the years. And particularly once the pandemic hit and it became very unsafe, we felt, and not the city I grew up in. And so, yeah, we moved out of Los Angeles and live in a much smaller town where people know our names when we go into the grocery store. And it's like this whole new world that I absolutely love.
I'm pretty sure any grocery store they're going to know your name.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask you about, something that I think, and I respect a lot of you, is you speak profoundly about your Christianity. You do so on social media, and you do so in interviews. And this has been such a polarized time, and we've been had the pleasure of a front seat of covering this, right? All through this political season, and we think of some of these talk shows like The View. I think did you co-host that for?
I co-hosted for 2 seasons, 2 presidential elections ago. When Trump became president the first time.
Do you still keep up? Do you watch it?
Very rarely. It's very hard for me to watch it because it's only one view.
Right, exactly. And to that point, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think you wrote this. If we have this control room, I'd like to show it. There's something that you said. This is BBB06. You said, when I was co-hosting The View, I learned firsthand how do I model kindness, particularly with the people who don't agree with me. I wouldn't say it was hostile behind the scenes, but in the moment, it got charged. So when you also have the spotlight on you and millions of people are watching you too, it's kind of like, how do I best represent a Christian in this time?
Yeah.
And for us, and at least for me too, that's what's needed right now. What would you say to maybe for some that are co-hosting on these shows to navigate the waters of, hey, there are 70-something million Americans out there that you're not talking to?
Right. Well, we certainly saw that with the election and seeing this red wave sweep over our nation. And I think so many people, so many of us have been scared to speak out. And I think the way that we do that is always with kindness and respect. That's what I always tried to do on The View. And I don't think you're ever going to change someone's opinion when you're rude to them and bashing them in some way, but let's have civil discourse. Let's have a good conversation about it. I can still disagree with you at the end of the day, but we can be respectful. And I think that's how we change the world, and we see where we can bridge together. And I think there are a lot of places that we can. When I walk away, I want to feel like, did I represent Christ well in my spirit? Because I might be the last Christian someone's interacting with that day. And how did I represent Christ well?
Actress and faithful Christian Candace Bure. Next up, newly re-elected Texas Senator Ted Cruz on Rob Schmitt Tonight.
I won by 1 million votes statewide, and I'll tell you what I was most excited about. I won Hispanics in the state of Texas by 6 points. That is unprecedented. It's never happened before, and it is incredible. And what we saw, Donald Trump carried Hispanics also, and what we saw was South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, which has been a bright blue bastion for 100 years. South Texas, the valley turned red. That is a generational shift, and I think people want to get back to common sense. They want to secure the border. They want their families safe. They want the economy moving again. They want inflation under control. They want to be able to provide for their kids and their future, and they want the chaos across the world and the perpetual wars to come to an end, and America to be strong and stand with our allies.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about immigration, because I think that's probably one of the issues that certainly pulled you to such a big victory in Texas. Last night we had Rand Paul on. Yeah. Politico actually wrote a piece about our interview. Senator Paul stated that Trump should not use the military to go into our cities to physically remove illegals via the military. Now, Tom Homan, the new border czar, says the military is not going to be used to round up people inside of American cities. So he's denying that was ever the plan to start with. What have you heard about what this process is going to look like, this massive process?
Well, listen, I would listen to Tom Homan on that. I mean, he has been named the border czar. I like Tom a lot. He's a serious man. He understands his mission very clearly, which is to secure the border to solve this problem. And he's right that we have not historically had to send active duty military to apprehend illegals in the interior of the country. We do have active duty military, Texas National Guard and other military who have assisted on securing the border in Texas and elsewhere. But look, the biggest thing that is going to change, I'm going to make a prediction right now. We are going to see the border secure, and it's not going to take a year. It's not even going to take 6 months. We're going to see it in January and February of next year. And the reason I say that with absolute confidence is when Trump was president last time, I worked hand in hand with him to secure the border, and we produced the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. The single biggest thing, Rob, that makes a difference is a policy question that will change on January 20th. It is what happens when an illegal immigrant is apprehended. If the answer is, as it is under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that you let them go and you let them stay, you see the numbers skyrocket. And if the answer is that you put them on a plane, you put them on a bus, you send them back to their home country, you send them home, the numbers plummet. That's what happened before, and that's what's going to happen again.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz on Rob Schmitt Tonight. As soon as I said the word senator, it reminded me that I wanted to talk about Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. I mean, this guy is a U.S. treasure. So the Biden administration is quickly trying to appoint federal judges before their time runs out. You've probably heard about it. Senator Kennedy lit them up during questioning on Capitol Hill,
saying that illegal immigration should not be criminalized is a position, is it not?
It is. What I'd like to add is that everything that I wrote while I was an advocate, not a sitting judge.
Oh, I see. That makes a difference. Did you mean it when you wrote it?
When I wrote it?
Did you mean it?
I meant it when I wrote it because...
Okay, but you don't mean it now?
I do not mean it now.
So if you take off your advocate hat today, do you have your advocate hat on today?
I am no longer an advocate. I'm a sitting magistrate judge.
Okay, so you don't tell the truth when you're an advocate, but you do when you're not? Is it okay to lie if you're an advocate?
I don't follow the question.
I think it's pretty clear, and I think you follow it. You've taken a lot of radical positions, Judge. You're referring to your state and America. Both target black, indigenous, African American, Latinx, and other people and communities of color, resulting in entrenched inequality and inequity, manifesting in unjust, unfair, and differential treatment, and yielding remarkably disparate and negative outcomes relative to those experienced by white people. End quote. Did I read that accurately?
Senator, I don't have it in front of me. I don't have any reason to think that you did not read that correctly.
Yes, he is also an attorney. I don't know how big his staff is, but he does endless research, obviously. You would not want to be questioned by him. Senate Democrats did secure the confirmation of two more of Biden's judicial nominees, though. Amir Ali, the president and executive director of the civil rights organization, the MacArthur Justice Center, and Washington Court of Appeals Judge Rebecca Pinnell, a former federal public defender, to a life-tenured position as a trial court in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. She is the one that you just heard in the clip. This is really important stuff. All right. I mean, this is where major decisions happen or don't happen. Wednesday's votes brought Biden's total number of confirmed nominees to 220. So yesterday, NVIDIA, the AI chip giant that we were talking about all week, said in its earnings report that its revenue for the quarter grew 94%. 94% increase in revenue to $35.1 billion for a quarter. $2 billion more than what analysts had predicted. Per share earnings beat the estimates by a mile, and yet last night the stock was lower. There was some concern from everything I read that the earnings, as good as they were, weren't good enough. I mean, are you frigging kidding me? In what world would any kind of performance like that, maybe in the AI world, I don't know, not be a great thing, right? Common sense has prevailed. Reality has taken over. The stock is higher today, and so are the overall markets. There's a slew of corporate earnings out today as well. Keep up with all of the news and breaking developments throughout the day and night on Newsmax TV, Newsmax 2, that's N2, and at Newsmax.com. Beginning each and every day with Wake Up America, National Report, The Chris Salcedo Show, Carl Higbie Frontline, Bianca De La Garza on Newsline, Greta Van Susteren, Finnerty, Greg Kelly, and much, much more. I'm Tony Marino. This is the Newsmax Daily. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. Please share it with your friends and family or anybody else. Thursday Night Football features a fantastic AFC matchup by the surprise Pittsburgh Steelers. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers fans are not surprised, but 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Hey, it's Jerry Callahan from The Callahan Show. You can listen to us every day. We react to the latest news, politics, sports, and all the madness in the world. I'll give you my opinion with a little edge, a little attitude. I'm an unapologetic right-winger, trapped behind enemy lines in deep blue Boston, so I'm used to taking on the mainstream media mob. You can hear us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can listen every day at newsmax.com/listen.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real